Greetings, family. We up in here. Trying to start this live on my Insta so we can get started. Okay, so it's 4:08. So that gives us plenty of time. This greetings is Cassandra Faye Floyd, also known as the daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. And like every day until August 25th, we up in here reading the Conspiracy to Right All Wrongs. But since it's 4:08, it's not right on the dot. So we have been doing this at 11:11 p.m. Universal Time every day since May 20th. We're going to continue doing this every day until August 25th. So it's 4:08 right now. So we're going to start with greetings, Rose from the dead. I love that. Greetings, Shanta's J, darling. How you doing? Galactic Seed. Sonya, at least we're going to get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with the reading around Rome. I think that's all I'll have the time to read till time to read the conspiracy, and then I'll read our temple conspiracy right after. Thrice 300 years have run their course of fulfillment. Rome, by the strife of her people, shall perish. Rome is doomed to perish, and that indeed by the judgment of God, because it held her name in hatred, and being the enemy of righteousness, it destroyed the people who kept the truth. There shall come to thee sometime from above a heavenly stroke deserved, O haughty Rome, and thou shalt be the first to bend thy neck and be raised to the ground, and thee shall fire destructive utterly consume, cast down upon thy pavements, and thy wealth shall perish, and wolves and foxes dwell in thy foundations. And then shalt thou be wholly desolate, as if not born. Woo! Okay, I might have time to read our. Yeah, you know what? Let me do that. Conspiracy of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. I, Cassandra Faye Floyd, as a peculiar expression of the almighty divine she, the great cosmic mother, now join in breath with my global family to conspire on behalf of the whole made well. We are breathing these words together to ensure that our home, her body, is restored to her original perfect glory. Her glory is perfect in peace, love, bliss, happiness, and ecstasy. This world exists because we collectively will it so. We, as the representatives of the Mother's reign on earth, speak this beautiful conspiracy as a single cosmic earthly orchestra to guarantee heaven on earth in joyful compliance with our Mother's divine will. Possessing the power of our mothers, we speak this glorious future now. It is certainly as we say, Mommy and I are one. This is perfect timing. Perfect timing. So let's get ready to do the conspiracy to right all wrongs. It's exactly 4:11. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Dang. Hold on, y'all. Dang. My darn computer went out overnight. Hold on. Is that it? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Yes. All right. So we still at 4:11. Okay. Or 11:11 where you are. We are the breakers of curses, the casters of glorious conspiracies, the creators of the new world. I, Cassandra Faye Floyd, am a divine instrument of my mother's divine will. As such, I am protected and guided by the sacred blood and water of my mother's body that anointed my entry into this life. I am divine because she is divine. Mommy and I are one. I call all of the mothers to this moment. I call on she who governs everything, all time and every space in between. She with 1,000 names. Today it is Oya, the Usheress of the new age. Mommy and I are one. I call upon all the divine ancestors and the Ashe of every mother on earth to break every curse ever cast upon the mother and her children in all timelines and in every dimension. Mommy and I are one. We, the mother's divine children, conspire together today to forever bind those who have or would harm you, great mother. Mommy and I are one. We conspire together today to destroy everyone and every timeline and dimension that has caused suffering and despair. Mami and I are one. Today, we embody the sacred and divine power of our mothers. Today, we the tree, we the weavers, rewrite all time. Today, we the tree, we the weavers, rewrite the book of life. We, our mother's children, call the winds of change. We conjure the primordial dark. We summon the sacred serpent deep from within the earth. We subdue the rogue sun. We control the light. We heal the harmed. We embody the fearful. We embolden the fearful. We instill courage. Today, we are staging a global evolution as is our mother's divine will. Mami and I are one. We ecstatically welcome the radical destruction of all institutions of hate and harm erected by the godheads of war. Mami and I are one. We have the power. We have the voice. We are the portals of change. We give life and sacred blood to this conspiracy. Mami and I are one. We command, come the wind, come the storm, come the lightning, capture all godheads of war and all betrayers of the mother's divine will. Bring them and their confusion and war to an end. Scatter them to oblivion, never to be resurrected. This is the time of reckoning, reclamation, and the restoration of heaven on earth under the mother's divine reign. Love unlimited is our destiny. Harmony is our destiny. Ecstasy is our destiny. Pleasure is our destiny. Freedom is our destiny. This is her divine will. We are the divine executors of her will. We speak her will into the now to reverberate through all time, all space, and all dimensions. It is as we say, forever and ever. Mami and I are one. Mami and I are one. Mami and I are one. All right, family. All right, family. So there you have it. That is our conspiracy for today. Thank you so much, Diane Reeds, for your donation. I appreciate you. Yes. So again, just like I said yesterday, I know I went off on a bit of a tangent. That's not going to be the case today. Okay. This is my commitment. Y'all have to help. Y'all have to hold me to. I'm going to read to y'all today because I really feel like this book that I started reading to you out of yesterday, there's just so much relevant coming down from it. Yes, Sonia, the restoration of the dark divine feminine. That's what we talking about. Okay. So I'm going to read a little bit today because yesterday we got, mother required that we deviate from the plan because I had 5 words, 6 words I'd set aside to read to you yesterday. And I think of the ones that I read, I think I only read 2, maybe 1 that I intended to read, but it was so perfect. It was so perfect in its unfolding. It was so perfect in the revelation. And so today I am going to try, unless the mother sees fit to intervene today, I'm going to try to read the words that I'd actually chosen yesterday to read to you because they too are very purposeful and important. Okay, so the book that I'm reading from today is Barbara G. Walker's The Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects. The Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects. Yesterday was a whole vibe. A whole moment. Really, if you have me tell it, a whole goddamn breakthrough. A whole breakthrough. Okay? And here we are, right out the gate. Didn't intend it, but I'm actually going to read it. Sure didn't, but but it seems like it's purposeful because it's the first page I opened to. Vegan Butterfly, awesome that you ordered that book. Get your life right. So like I said, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, if from my perspective in this moment, this list could change in the future, but right now the list, I would say, if you could only have 4 books in your possession to start your walk, to deepen your walk, whatever, and these books, I would say, are a vital necessity in the entry into this realm that we call the divine feminine, unearthing the subdued mother. Okay. That is this book that I'm reading from you today, Barbara G. Walker, The Woman's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects. That is the Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth. That is the Sibyls, the First Prophetesses of Mami Wata, and the Theft of African Prophecy by the Catholic Church. And Barbara G. Walker again, the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. So there you have it. That's my immediate book list. So when we're talking about the book study of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence, which we're going to begin again this month. So the first Saturday, I should just do some housekeeping, I guess. So the first Saturday of every month, starting this month, we're going to get back on the schedule, back on our regular thing that we've been off schedule for some time. The first Saturday of every month is going to be the official temple service of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. I haven't decided on a time yet. I'll be knowing today what time I will be able to make use of the space. So because that temple service will be on location. That way, there are people I know that are local who want to come. They'll be able to actually come on location for the temple services, while I also will be live streaming the temple service. Every third Saturday of the month, we will be doing, thank you for the donation, Shanta J. The third Saturday of every month, we will be doing the official temple, the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence book study. Okay, so it's for some time, for some time. These four books in particular, these four books in particular, that doesn't mean that there aren't a giant list of others that can be included on some other day. But for some time, these are the primary books that we are going to be using to do the book study for the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. So I have a list of you guys who have expressed interest about participating in the book study. The book studies I usually do via Zoom. I don't do in this format because the whole purpose of the book study is for people to be able to participate, talk to each other, talk to me, ask questions, present breakthroughs that they had that the rest of us may not have even seen. It's interactive. That's the whole purpose of it, right? And so the book study, while the service will be live, just like a regular live like this in this format, the book study will always be a Zoom. I will send out whatever I decide is going to be the focus of the study about 5 to 7 days out from the book study to give you time to read the selected, whatever it is, the selected chapter, the selected pages, whatever. The way I conduct book study or political education or whatever is I send you out the focus of the study in advance. Everyone is required to read that selection. If you do not have the book that is the topic, for right now, the book studies are only going to incorporate books that I have read on my channel. So even if you do not have the book, every book that we're going to be studying from, except like the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets and Symbols and Sacred Objects. So for example, if I select a section that I think we need to study in this book study, that section I will be sure to read as a live. So again, even if you do not have the book, you can participate in the study by just going back to the selected sections of the books that I've read on my YouTube channel, and then, formulate the rest after that. Because the other aspect of that is to read or listen to the selected topic of study, but to come into the book study with ideally 3 questions, a minimum of 1, obviously, but ideally each person come with 3 questions that they have galvanized from the reading. We'll go around the space. Everybody gets the opportunity to present their question. We talk about that question. Everybody, can have the input about the question, what I got from it, what you got from it, whatever. So it's extremely interactive. Nobody sitting silent on the Zoom. Everybody has to ask at least one question. And the other thing that I like about the Zoom, or that I require of the Zoom, I ask permission from the people participating in the Zooms if I can use the footage, like clips from the footage, is kind of like a promo to get other people interested in coming into the book club. And the reason I preface that way is because I make this thing open. And so I get it. People be like real, what you call it? Like insecure about being seen. But for me, when we're on a Zoom call, right? Unless you are not willing to have your face seen, like if I do clips to present live on my YouTube channel, if that's the case, fine, right? But the only people that can have their quote face covered or their screen dark or whatever are those people who are adamant about not being seen in the live setting when I take clips from these Zooms to present them live as promos to get more people to participate in the book club. I'm rigid about that because one, it's not just about quote you being insecure about being seen. It's a security measure. We don't know each other. And even though I love y'all and I trust y'all, I know the state. I know, and we've had it happen in our Zooms before where, what you call it? Like people who come in to sabotage your shit. What do you call it? There's a name for them. There's a name for it. But we have had, that's why I stopped doing the Zoom links live. I used to just post the Zoom links. Agents, thank you. There was another word I was looking for. It's more like computer technological when you have people like be up on your shit, like trying to sabotage your shit. I used to just post the Zoom link inside the Facebook Great Cosmic Mother Book Club. But because that was open and the page was not private, I would have provocateurs and shit come in and try to like sabotage the Zoom classes. So that's why I do the trolls. That's what it is. Thank you so much. That's why I do the book studies the way that I do. I send you an invite through Eventbrite. I send you an invite through Eventbrite because I also encourage people to make donations. It's not just us coming together. It's work that is required for the preparation for a book club, to lead a discussion, to come up with an agenda, and so on and so. This is work that I do. It is not a little bit of work to facilitate book clubs. So I will never turn anyone away, but I do encourage people to make a donation. And I make a recommended donation when I send out the Eventbrite, but that is a recommended donation. So if you do not have the recommended donation, but you want to make a less donation, you'll still get the Zoom. If you do not have any money at all, which I find hard to believe, but fine, all you got is $1, you will still get the link to the Zoom. You ain't got no money whatsoever, but you still want access to the Zoom. Guess what? I will still send you the link to the Zoom. But the only way to get the link to the Zoom is to register through the Eventbrite link that I will email when it's time to start the book study again. Okay? That is a security measure for me. That's the primary reason that I am a stickler about it. People who come up on the Zoom, and I've had not just up on the Zoom, it's really awkward to me when I am doing a one-on-one session via Zoom with people, which it has happened. And I do not share the readings at all, nowhere, not for promos, not for any, no, right? As soon as they have the opportunity to download their reading, it's deleted. And so it always strikes me awkward. I'll say awkward, but there's a deeper word. When I am doing a one-on-one session with someone and I'm talking to a black screen because they refuse to allow me to see them, even after I've raised it. You know what I'm saying? So again, we are in a spiritual space. I get it. And so you think it's just a spiritual thing. It is not. Because I too am a long-term political activist, and I am always aware that agents and trolls and provocateurs are always trying to sabotage something that can pose a threat to what is a threat, a contradiction, an opposing energy to what is. So when I ask you, especially in a private session, I'm gonna need to see your face on the screen. That's the basis. It's a security measure for me. I hope I can win that with people because I find that so interesting. Because my default, having been not a political activist, a cadre style goddamn revolutionary for 15 years, child, the slightest awkward. There was no such thing as awkward in revolutionary spaces. You either police or you ain't. That's it. Anything that's outside the norm, anything that's kind of weird, you feel, that's police shit. That there was no gray area as a revolutionary. There was no gray area, bitch. You acting like the police. So are you police? You feel me? So I'm clarifying that because, again, I have softened my position a lot since I stopped, quote, being a self-proclaimed revolutionary. But that's still my default. Is once I explain to you, for one, that this is not going to be seen by anybody else. You know what I'm saying? That there is no manner of not cute, not dressed appropriately that can make me uncomfortable when we are one-on-one and this shit is private and you still refuse to allow yourself to be seen. My default is this motherfucker the police? You understand what I'm saying? So where the book studies are concerned in the future, I will regularly at the top of the meeting ask, is there anyone on this call who is uncomfortable with their face being seen? Because I am going to take stills because people need to see. Damn, there's a lot of people in that Zoom. So I'll take stills of the Zoom with all the people present. So people be like, oh, I want to go in there. Look at all these people up in this book club, right? I will take minute-long clips of the book study that I think are significant moments in the shit and promote that. So I will ask at the beginning, is there anybody here who is uncomfortable with their face being seen? If you are at that moment, that is the moment that I will give you the opportunity to, turn your screen black. But at the entry of the book club, before I make that announcement, I want to see everyone's face, even if it is for that moment until I make the announcement. This is the time to black your screen if you're not comfortable being seen in other platforms. Do you understand what this is a security measure. Okay? I hope I can win that with you guys and help you to understand why it's important. Okay? So the book club will be starting. I will still be doing the book club. My plan is to be in Houston that weekend for the Quantum Fest. But I am still going to make it possible because I'm only presenting one day. So I will make it possible to take an hour. It'll only be a short book club study that day. Or I might do it the day before I leave. I'll let you know. But typically from here on out, every third Saturday of the month will be the official temple study. We'll call it a temple study. Okay. And I think, and then other housekeeping, if you want to contribute in any way to the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence, you can make donations. If you're watching via YouTube, you can do super chat, super thanks. You can become a paid member. There are different tiers through which you can be a paid member. If you are tuning in both YouTube or IG, you can use the temple email address, EVOEMETEMP, temp, EVOEMETEMP @gmail.com. You can use that email to send a Zelle donation or a PayPal donation. To send Cash App, it is $ Daughter of the Fates. Every word with a capital letter. The first letter of every word with a capital letter. $ Daughter of the Fates, FATES. And also Venmo is my name, which is Cassandra, CASSANDRA -Floyd, FLOYD. Okay. Those are the methods with which you can send a contribution, aka donation. If you want to support through my Etsy store, that is Daughter of the Fates, FATES, daughterofthefates.etsy.com. Some people have been having a problem getting there for whatever reason that way. So you can always just go to etsy.com and then put in the search engine Daughter of the Fates as separate words. Okay. Oh, and also divination and 5 elements consultations are the other ways that you can support the work of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. Literally every penny that I make is either going to direct like logistical shit that I still am dealing with for the building of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence, or supporting my life that frees up the space for me to continue to do this work as the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. Okay. So that's that. That's all the housekeeping, I think. Okay. So again, we're going to start with the reading, and this is from the Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects by Barbara G. Walker. So the first word that I landed on, which was not one that I selected, but whatever, is goddess. The word goddess. Recent research has established the primacy of the goddess figure in human thought as a direct outgrowth of the primacy of the mother in every individual experience, and also because biological fatherhood was unknown. What did we talk about for a long time yesterday? Biological fatherhood was unknown until fairly late in the development of civilizations. Though male scholars still use the term gods for the supreme creative deities of prehistory and myth, it has been shown that the creative power in all the oldest traditions were female. Egyptians said the primeval sea womb was the goddess Nun, Nun, spelled like none, the goddess Nun, or Naunet, who gave birth to the sun and all the gods in all the gods. In Sumeria, she was Namu, who created the sky and the earth, An and Ki. In Babylon, she was Tiamat, the deep, who gave birth to all the deities, including the municipal god Marduk, who later became her matricidal killer. In Greece, um, she was man. Hold on, y'all. My eyes. I have been avoiding what apparently is becoming the unavoidable, making an appointment to go see somebody about my eyes. Child. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Oh my God, that's better. Okay, so let's see. In Greece, she was the primal goddess Gaia, who gave birth without benefit of consort. Oh man, it make my head hurt though. Without benefit of consort to the sky Uranus, and later made him her spouse. Assyria told of the wise goddess Mami or Ninti, who made human beings out of the clay that was part of her womb, animating them with her blood, as women's uterine blood was supposed to create and animate their own children. The old gods of late Sumerian tradition were without exception goddesses. Antum, Ninlil, Damkina, Ishtar, and Baba. Okay? And Baba, the sacred queens of the five ancient cities, Uruk, Eridu, Larsa, and Lagash were older than their husbands, Anu, Enlil, Enki, Utu, and Nergal. Their spouses were all of lower rank. Avalon remarks that, quote, in the beginning, the goddess everywhere antedated, or at least was predominant over the god. It has been affirmed that in all countries, from the Euphrates to the Adriatic, the chief divinity was at first in woman form. With the advent of patriarchal societies, many of the names and symbols of the great goddess were suppressed and finally forgotten. The new father gods usurped her world creating functions, her attributes, even the very words and phrases of her ancient scriptures. The Bible contains many plagiarized excerpts from earlier hymns and prayers to Ishtar and other goddess figures, with the name of Yahweh substituted for that of the female deity. In biblical Hebrew, the word for goddess does not exist. As God has been made by men's words, so the goddess has become unmade. As God has been made by men's words, so the goddess has been unmade by them. The process still goes on. Webster's Third New International Dictionary defines capital G, God, in a great variety of ways in which it seems The editors just cannot say enough in his favor. Definitions include, quote, the holy, the infinite, the eternal spiritual reality presented in the Bible as the creator, the sustainer, the judge, the righteous sovereign, and the redeemer of the universe who acts with power in history in carrying out his purpose, the eternal, the invisible, the arbitrarily omnipotent, Lord of the worlds, and final judge of all men. The unchangeability, the unchangeably perfect being that is the first and final cause of the universe, the supreme or ultimate reality, the being supreme in power, wisdom, and goodness, that men worship and to whom they pray, end quote. And as the ultimate offense, Webster's further defines God as, quote, the one ultimate infinite reality that is pure existence, consciousness, and bliss, end quote. A phrase lifted directly from the Yogan Hridaya Tantra, where it was the description of the goddess, she who is the radiant illumination, the she who is the radiant illuminatrix in all beings. By contrast with these effusions, small g goddess is defined briefly as a divinity of the female sex. God damn. Then as a quote, woman who is the object of adoration, something personified as a woman that is honored as a goddess, end quote. Only 3 citations are given, all of them belittling and one even grossly erroneous. They are 1, quote, like the lover whose imagination makes a goddess of some commonplace young woman, end quote. The Phoenix Rising, the live is going to start every day at 11:11. I have it scheduled for 11:15 because they don't have, the numbers between. So I post it as 11:15. I mean, as 11:15 Universal Standard Time. In Pacific Standard Time, that is 4:11 p.m. and on and on and on. Every day until August 25th. Every day until August 25th. Plus, I didn't post this live where it gave notifications. As soon as I created the live, I went live. So if you didn't get notifications, that's why I went immediately live. Okay. So every day at 11:11 11:11 p.m. Universal Time. Universal Standard Time. The reason why is because at the beginning, we're doing the conspiracy to right all wrongs, where I am asking all of you to say the conspiracy out loud. If you're in a place where you can do it loudly, the louder, the better. Every day. The conspiracy is also every day until August 25th. The one live that I do at 11:11 Universal Standard Time will have the conspiracy listed in the description box below the screen. If you want a copy of the conspiracy and the ritual that is coinciding with it, because it's not just the recitation of the ritual, it's the preparation of the ritual and then the conclusion of the ritual, which we will conduct together on August 25th. Okay, so if you want that with all the information, then email me at evoemetemp@gmail.com. evoemetemp@gmail.com. And I will send you an email with all that information. Okay. So what was I saying? Damn. What was I saying? Shit. Okay, well, I'll just start where I left off. Okay. By contrast with, let's see, some young commonplace woman. 2, 2, that characteristic middle class goddess, the English common law. And 3, the Hindu assassins used hashish as devotees of the goddess Thuggee, end quote. No goddess was ever named Thuggee, Thuggee. The Hindu Thuggee cultists worshipped the goddess Kali, Moreover, the hashism or hashish takers, from whom the word assassins came, damn, from whom the word assassins came, were not Hindus, but Sarakins. Sarakins. So the reference is wrong, as well as an obvious attempt to emphasize only evil connotations of goddess worship. Today, a few well-meaning reformers sporadically try to restore a semi-female component to the basic idea of God, which has been so immovably and impeccable. Let's see, what the fuck? Implacably masculine. I don't know what that word is. Implacably masculine throughout the distressing period of his acting, quote, with power in history. As the dictionary puts it, some try to call him God the Mother. We talked about that yesterday at length, as a matter of fact. Some try to call him God the Mother, or present him as either bisexual or sexless. Every symbol for what Western civilization now calls God has been so heavily weighted with masculinity, however, that no such equivocations can make much difference. Neil Morton suggests that even retention of the word God can only serve to, quote, keep women short-sighted as the goddess is suppressed. Whatever else deities may be, they are certainly symbols par excellence, and what they symbolize is the idealized human being. Men stole women's greatest symbol and left them spiritually impoverished, while they went on to inflate their own male deity to positively blimpish dimensions. It may take more than words to redress that wrong. So that is the word goddess. Um, um, all right, now I'm going to stick to the plan. I want to read this one, but I'll save it for later. I'm only going to read today the words that I said I was going to read yesterday in D. Okay? All right. So the first word, the second word, which is the first word that I said I was going to read yesterday, is the word Gemini, as obviously it is appropriate, since we wheel into Gemini season, and Gemini, aka twin energy, has been showing up all over the place. Don't y'all be laughing at me in the comment section. Okay, so Gemini. For those of you who are signing in late, the Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects by Barbara G. Walker. The Egyptian symbol of Gemini was not a pair of male twins, but a woman and a man with joined hands. In Sanskrit, they were called Mithuna or Maithuna, the lovers. Romans viewed them as the god Apollo coupled with his twin sister Diana, aka Artemis. Babylonians named them Mastabagagal, twins of indefinite gender. Persians and Greeks called them Dopaktar and Didumwa, the twins. Male twins like Castor and Pollux, the Dioscuri or the Dioscuri, may have been patriarchal revisions of earlier androgynous pairs. In older myths, the god and goddess were twins as well as spouses and even mother-child dyads. Mother, sister, and bride of the god were all embodied in the same triple goddess. Astrological designations of the heavenly twins usually connect them with Romulus and Remus, alleged founders of Rome and twin foster sons of the famous Sabine she-wolf. Originally, there was some doubt about their gender also. Some said the real founder of Rome and of the Romulan gens was a woman named Rome. Some she was either a Greek or a figurative from excuse me. She was either a Greek or a fugitive from fallen Troy. The Syracusan historian Callias, in the year 300 AD, supposed that she was the wife of the legendary Sabine king Latinus. In the 2nd century BC, she was called the Amazonian daughter of Mars. Alternatively, others said she was the wife of Aeneas, the other founder of Rome, according to a different legend. Just as pre-Roman matriarchs were apothecized as goddesses, so the male Romulus was apothecized as the god Quirinius or Quirinus, having appeared having appeared in a roadway vision to his followers exactly as Jesus appeared in the Pauline legend, which bears a suggestive resemblance to the older Romulus myth. It seems clear that Rome developed out of the Sabine matriarchate, which produced the Romulan clan. Later stories held that the followers of the male Romulus were forced to steal Sabine wives in order to have the sanguis ac genus, the holy blood of the race, which was embodied and transmitted only by women. Each of the early Roman clans was named after its founding mother in the Sabine style. These tribal matriarchs seem to have been assimilated to the spinning fortunae, or the fate goddesses, because their only duty was to spin. There's the connection again to the whole long thing we did last night about the spinsters, the weavers, the fates, the websters, right? An androgynous view of the astrological twins makes much more sense than supposing them to be two males, because they have always been interpreted as the union of opposites, much like the yin and yang symbol. Gemini people are said to be dualistic in their interests and tastes, as if inhabited by two contradictory personalities. Therefore, restlessness, cleverness, and inventiveness are Gemini qualities, along with impatience and a tendency to become easily bored. Gemini is influenced by Mercury, it is said, and so becomes mercurial in its union of opposites. Gemini governs arts and sciences, covering many different kinds of knowledge. So there you go. Next, uh, hmm, interesting. Um, okay. Let's see. We did that. So the next word, excuse me. The next word is feet. All over India, the footprints of Buddha are still worshipped at holy shrines. But some of these Buddhist feet were originally worshipped as the feet of Vishnu. Even earlier, some may have been the red henna-dyed feet of the goddess. In antiquity, stones dedicated to Isis and Venus were marked with footprints, meaning "I have been here." The custom was copied later on Christian tombs, where the footprint bore the legend "Indio." Egyptians, Babylonians, and other ancient peoples considered it essential to step on sacred ground with bare feet, as to absorb the holy influences from Mother Earth. Fascinating. Hmm. Or from the floor of the temple built over her shrine. That is why God commanded Moses to take off his shoes, quote, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground, end quote, according to Exodus 3:5. As it became customary to go bareheaded in the presence of a king, so in antiquity it was customary to go barefooted in the presence of a deity. During the first century AD, Roman witches, aka priestesses, invariably performed their rites with unbound hair and bare feet, so as to contact the man, just the Chthonian spirit of the mother. So vital a part of the person was the footprint that believers in witchcraft almost always assumed that anyone could be injured through deliberate defacement of the footprint. Sores or lameness were often attributed to malevolent acts of sorcerers who placed sharp stones, nails, or knife stabs in one's footprint. A curious modern form of the ancient mark of divinity, footprints in stones, is the popular the popular deification of Hollywood stars by leaving their footprints in cement. Whoa. Whoa. A curious modern form of the ancient mark of divinity, footprints in stone, is the popular deification of Hollywood stars by leaving their footprints in cement. Whoa. Wow. So that's the end of that. Okay. Let's see. Mhm. Okay. The next one. The next one is hair. Um, and I might digress on this a lot because there were some things about hair that I wanted to mention yesterday, but I got so caught up in the shit that was coming down in the read that I forgot to go back and make the connection to hair. So I'm reading hair today, and then drawing it back to what we read yesterday and why it was significant. Women's hair carried heavy symbolic and spiritual significance in Oriental religions. Tantric sages proclaimed that the binding or unbinding of a woman's hair could control cosmic powers of creation and destruction. The hair of the goddess Isis carried magical powers of protection, resurrection, and reincarnation. She gave rebirth to Osiris Horus by shaking out her hair over him. Long, thick hair on male gods and heroes. Oh my God. God damn. Hold on. Okay. Let's see. Long, thick hair on male gods and heroes like Shiva or Apollo Hercules or Hercules indicated virility and vital power. And we might add Samson there, as a matter of fact. One foundation of the myth of the sun hero lay in his sacrifice to the moon goddess who cut off his hair. Oh shit! A castration of his vital force. The biblical symbol of this goddess was Delilah, whose name means she who makes weak. Oh my God. Yo, let me read that whole paragraph over. One foundation of the myth of the sun hero lay in his sacrifice to the moon goddess who cut off his hair, a castration of his vital force, meaning his submission to the goddess. And the Bible changed the story. His submission to the goddess. The biblical symbol of this goddess was Delilah, whose name means she who makes weak. She who makes weak. And the shorn Samson was her son hero, named after an Arabic title of the sun, Shams On. Judeo-Christian patriarchy was generally hostile toward hair because of its pagan sexual connotations. Celibate priesthoods often adopted the tonsure or shaven head because it symbolized genital mutilation, castration, or circumcision. Listen, Judeo-Christian patriarchy was generally hostile towards hair because of its pagan sexual connotations. Celibate priesthoods often adopted the tonsure or shaven head because it symbol. They cut their hair because to them it listen, the priest willingly cut their hair. You hear me? Because to them it symbolized genital mutilation, castration, and circumcision. Why was this important? Because the whole act of asceticism among these priests, the purpose of asceticism was to deny, quote, the pleasures of the flesh, which only came from the fact that they were birthed through a mother. All temptation was symbolic of that which is inherent in the evils of females. This is why these male priests and monks and so on practiced self-harming, self-deprivation in the forms of asceticism or celibacy or poverty or whatever, was because in their mind to reject pleasure was to reject the mother, was to castrate themselves, was to cut themselves off from the mother. Do you hear me? Now let me just tell you what the fuck happened. Literally right before I got on this call. Literally minutes before I got on this live. And how mother be showing her ass. Because this was not one of the words I had pre-chosen to read. But I was like, let's get in it anyway, because I wanted to mention what I missed mentioning yesterday when we was talking about the weavers. Let me tell you how mama be showing her ass. Be showing out. She said, when I come through the room, I want you to know it's me. So I gotta come big. I gotta come in a way that you know it's not, quote, a coincidence. You feel me? Let me tell you right before we got on this call. Like 3 minutes before I went live. This sister who is a local supporter, y'all have seen her actually. She's been at a couple of the in-person temple services. She's Mexican, the Sheikah sister. She texted me today about an experience that she had, right? She was texting me about the conspiracy. She said, I was in ceremony and I had this download that I wanted to share with you. The download was, she said, Mama came right to me and told me, now, Fuck. For while until August 25th, while y'all are doing the conspiracy, I want you to be celibate. I want you to take a vow of celibacy until we complete the conspiracy on August 25th, right? And she was like, the mother told her how much more powerful, the conspiracy would be if, she took a vow of celibacy until August 25th. Her frame of reference for doing that is that in celibacy, it will cause her to focus on herself, to center herself, right? She said, so I wanted to propose that to you, and impart that to the other people who are participating in the recitation of the of conspiracy to right all wrongs. My response to her was that I will not do that. However, because we were talking about specifically about the temple services, the temple service coming up this Saturday, I said, I will not state that as a position of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. But what I will do, because I appreciate your experience, what I will do is make a section of the temple service, an open discussion session. And in that space, you can communicate what you have just communicated to me. And even if you want to communicate it in a way where you are offering your experience and making it a suggestion, I'm not opposed to that, opposed to you in a common discussion session, putting that forward about your experience and what you received in ceremony. I said, but I will not do is state what your experience was as a position of recommendation. Anyway, so what I was saying was, I told her, I said, that is not something that will come out of my mouth as a position, as an official position of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. But again, I'm not opposed at all, because I don't think that your experience is invalid. Okay, am I back? Lavina, since I know that you're actually logged into YouTube, can you hear me on YouTube? Yes, no. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Am I frozen? I just refreshed the page. Lavina, poet empress, poet Isaac. Okay, great. All right. So picking back where I left off. All right. When so I said that will not be an official position that comes from me on behalf of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. But that is not to discredit the validity of the experience that you had. So, and it's also not to say that I have not participated in those forms of ceremony and have not benefited from them. You know what I'm saying? So I have at different stages in my life taken short periods of abstinence. I have taken short instances of fasting. I told y'all about one. You can't hear me on YouTube, Lavina? Claudia Ankra, can you hear me? Forbidden One, Vegan Butterfly, y'all are the last three to comment. Can y'all hear me, or am I talking to myself? Okay, cool. All right. So I said, so yes, while thank you guys. Okay, so yes, while I will not be making that as a requirement for the participation in the conspiracy to right all wrongs, I will open up a space where crystal clear you will be able to present what your situation was, what your ceremony was, and what came to you in that ceremony, and share it with the group. And in the respect for individual sovereignty, people can create their own ceremony. People can do for themselves, based on the information presented to them, what they see fit, what resonates with them. You feel me? So I think, fine, cool. I'll open up a section probably earlier in the service on Saturday for you to talk to people about what happened with you in ceremony and share the commitment that you have made on how you're going to participate in the conspiracy to right all wrongs. And again, people can do with that information what they want. They can tailor their ceremony the way they want. I said, but I have to make clear that you understand that participation in any form of what has always been recognized as a form of a ritual of self-denial is not my position as the chief priestess of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence, as the founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. In fact, when we first started embarking on this ritual called the Conspiracy to Right All Wrongs, what did I say and continue to say? Is that this period, we have to actively center our pleasure and our ecstasy as a ritual, as ceremony. That when we do anything that gives our body pleasure, when we eat, see it as a ceremony. When we dance, even if we out at the club juking to crunk music, be deliberate, see it as a ceremony. When we are drinking and imbibing in alcohol consumption, see it as a ceremony. The ceremony is, again, teaching your body to live embodied in guilt-free pleasure. In guilt-free pleasure. Do you understand? So that's why. And I tell y'all regularly, and I also tell you from a medical perspective, why I love traditional Chinese medicine so much, at least the theory of it, is that there are no extremes. Everything about the medicine, even the different frames of thought and schools of thought of the medicine, centers around the achieving of and the maintenance of a harmonious you. Harmony. There are no hard no's. There are no hard yeses. Chinese medicine, where food and drink is concerned, is there are no hard no's. You can't eat pork. You can't eat. There are no hard no's. They recognize that there are potential side effects that come with eating these. So in the maintenance of harmony, if you're going to have a meat meal or a pork meal, be sure that these are the things that you do for the next 7 days so they don't linger in your gut for forever. You feel me? There are no hard no's. There are no hard yeses. You'll never have a traditionally trained, traditional Chinese medicine practitioner tell you to fast. You'll never have an acupuncturist tell you to fast. Never. And I appreciated that because in my early years in medical school, fasting was a huge component of my undergraduate program, taking whole classes on, quote, detoxification and all of that stuff, having whole semester long classes on doing a different type of fast, journaling what happened to us during the fast to present to the class at the end of the semester. And that was the class. So there is nothing that I will tell you to do or not do that I already haven't been my primary guinea pig for any of those things. I was hardcore because I was a recovering addict. I went into medical school 2 years after I stopped smoking crack. And when I stopped smoking crack without the medical background, when I decided to quit everything cold turkey, alcohol, marijuana, and other illicit drugs, crack being the primary one, the only thing that I didn't know how to do and know how to do well was fasting as a form of detox. So the first 2 years that I was clean, the only thing that kept me clean and not going out of my fucking mind was I was doing regular fasting. I was fasting at a minimum of 3 days a month. And certain times of the year, I was fast. The longest fast I ever did on straight juice, no food, no, just juice and water, carrot juice and water. That was it. Was 14 days. Like I did this shit. You feel me? I am not saying, even as a person with 4 degrees in the medical field, that there aren't circumstances that I may, as an acupuncturist, suggest temporary fasting medically, health-wise, if your situation is acute. You feel me? But spiritually, for the time being, that is not something you will hear me tell you to do. Abstinence, vows of celibacy is never, that I can say with certainty, unless in my evolutionary process Something come down on me and it is told to me, bitch, you got to change your mind. You got to change the tenets. You got to change your mind. As of now, and the reason that I founded the temple and the epiphanies that I was having that gave rise to the founding of the temple, as of now, and it don't mean I'm rigid, but as of now, vows of celibacy, stints of abstinence, that ain't no shit that will come from my mouth as a recommendation of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. It won't happen. That does not mean that I will not recognize within the space that we create that this might be ideas that you share among each other, and then always honoring and recognizing every individual's sovereignty. Every individual having a right to shape and mold their own spiritual practice with them as the center of their universe. Bitch, you the center of your universe. And even as we share a space together as the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence, I honor your sovereignty. So I give you what I give you, not as holy writ. Just because it come out my mouth don't mean it's infallible. It's based on the experience that I'm having. It's based on how I want to teach you how to that's the word how to curate your own spiritual experience as a goddamn sovereign being. You are the center of your universe. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I didn't have an attitude at all. I respect the experience that she had. But I think what she was trying to win with me was that I proposed this as a recommendation under the auspice of, quote, powering up our ceremony. And I reject that. I reject that. I reject that. I reject that. I get the basis behind so many people still thinking that, quote, because it's what we've been taught in every space, every spiritual space. It's what if you really about that life and you want to, you want to do a political, you want to really make an input politically, then you need to do you need to do a, what do they call it? They don't call it a fast, they call it a shit, where they stop eating. They stop eating as political protest, or they set themselves on fire as political protest. You feel what I'm saying? You feel what because again, man, even in spiritual spaces that are actually absolutely opposed to Christianity or Islam or whatever, even goddess worshiping spaces I have been in, y'all, that are opposed to patriarchy and patriarchal traditions, still subscribe to these ceremonial practices that, whether they realize it or not, come and have been informed by patriarchal religions emergence as a ceremony, a perpetual ritual of self-denial, because to deny the flesh is to reject the mother. And you have to reject the mother in order to be closer to God, the Father. That's the origin and basis of it all. And so that is not some shit you will hear come out of my mouth. However, there is no shame whatsoever, 0%, from me or anybody else in the space that I create, that I curate. I will never allow someone else to shame decisions that you have made for yourself spiritually. Do you understand? So that's why I said, for her, to her, I will be sure to make an open space where people can talk about like what they're experiencing when they recite the conspiracy, what's happening in their life, any identifications, have they put specific people's names on the conspiracy? Because I've told y'all can do that. Yes, it's a grand sweeping conspiracy that we are saying, but you might have things happening in your life in real time that you need to address. Guess what? The conspiracy is written in a way to address all things. You need to break a curse that you have unknowingly cast on your own self. What do I mean by breaking a curse you unknowingly cast on your own self and never resolved? Talking about your body terrible. Damn, why my booty so big? Why my ass so big? Why Why my belly look like it do? Why I can't lose no weight? These are spells that you have cast on yourself. And in the absence of making a conscious declaration that I, right now, as the mother personified, as the mother of the universe in the flesh, in my peculiar and necessary incarnation of her, I break every curse I have ever cast on myself or anyone I love, knowingly or unknowingly. You feel me? The conspiracy already says that. The conspiracy already says that we break all curses. That we break all curses in every dimension, in every timeline, in all space and time. But we can specify. Damn, it was just brought up in my memory. You know, this terrible thing I said about my mama when I was 13 years old because I was mad because she wouldn't let me go to my friend's house. And I said, I hate you. That doesn't go away. not according to the laws of physics. What you've spoken out of your mouth and the force that came out of you, that doesn't go away. The only thing that ends that, even based on physics, is what? Is an equal and opposing force that breaks that curse. So with the same energy and the same emotional deepness that you said that because you was a rebellious, hard-headed child and you was mad because your mama didn't let you do what you want to do. I hate you. You make me sick. Whatever. Even if you said it in your mind and didn't say it out loud, that is a curse you have casted that has not yet been resolved. So you can specify if something comes up in your dreams in this process that you thought you had resolved, you thought was a thing of the past, and out of nowhere, it just shows the fuck up with such energy and veracity, like you disturbed by this dream that you didn't had. It means it is something that is you have yet resolved thoroughly. This is what I mean when I talk, because people, as soon as they hear curse, all they think about is a motherfucker over a cauldron, putting your hair in a pot and speaking spells over your name, bitch. Every time you open your mouth, you are creating something. Every time you open your mouth, you are creating something. And some of the somethings that you are creating based on the energy put behind it, because where does everything that come out your mouth come from? It springs forward as the truth of what is in your heart. It is your heart casting that spell, bitch. It is your heart. It is your emperor wielding your tongue like a magic wand to make something become. To make something become. And so do that. I've told women, I had a conversation with a sister today. I was like, the thing is women, Black women in particular, but all women have been guilted from, shamed from, terrorized from, terrified from, quote, speaking ill of those who have done them harm, especially lovers. Well, it was terrible. He was a monstrous motherfucker, but I'm just happy that it's over. I'm just happy that it's behind me. I have even said that shit. I have even said, well, as terrible as it was, my life is mine. His life is his. I ain't going to wish him no harm. He can be out there living his life. And I had to walk that shit back. People have to know, men in particular, have to know that if you commit a crime against the mother's daughter, you have committed a crime against the mother. You have to pay. There has to be a balancing of the scales of justice. No blind ass forgiveness. Nope. There has to be an act that balances, that reharmonizes the scales of justice. You commit an aggression against any of the mother's children for that matter. Against any of the mother's children for that matter. There is a debt to pay before harmonious balance can re-become. You got a debt to pay, bitch. And so that is why we have accepted and been subdued by a culture that tells us, turn the other cheek. Just forgive and forget. Yeah, he did you wrong, girl, but at least you escaped that shit with your life. Yeah, he did you dirty, but at least, you know what I'm saying? It was just emotional trauma. He ain't fuck your face up. Or whatever. And don't even think about it no more. That part of your life is done. And the lessons that you needed to learn, you done learned from that shit. And then we just walk into the world like shit gonna be all right for us. what they call psychologically how you your patterns in your life are repeated until they are resolved. That is the psychological explanation of what I'm talking about energetically in terms of breaking curses that are cast, whether consciously or unconsciously, knowingly or unknowingly. So because we have adopted a philosophy of somebody do you wrong and you just cut them off and that's it, so they can just go out in the world, keep doing what they doing, keep behaving like they behaving, keep causing trauma the way they. When somebody do me wrong, it just means I know who they is and I just cut them off. Let me tell you something. That was maybe about 2 months ago. And I was talking to y'all about the Indian sister, the young Indian sister who was talking about the attributes of Kali that are not common knowledge. So I'm listening to this sister. I ain't know none of this shit about Kali. I ain't know none of this shit about Kali, right? As I'm up in here having a whole ass moment because it specifically addressed this thing that I'm talking to you about right now. In the breaking of curses. The breaking of curses requires action. Biatch, action. The breaking of curses requires action. Whether that is the speaking aloud, whether that is dancing, the dance of destruction. And when you dancing in the club, the dance of destruction, you envisioning in your mind's eye the motherfucker who did you wrong. You feel me? Whether it is what she say when she was talking about Kali, maybe that shit gave me life. That shit gave me life when this young Indian woman was talking about there is nothing that Kali is the governess of justice. Of justice. And she say that our mother Kali, the reason she keep her hair, quote, wow, that's what she said. She said she keep her hair wow, right? Is because nothing gives her more pleasure than bathing her hair in the blood of her enemies. I said, oh, shit. Woo. Okay. That nothing offends Lilith more than someone who takes advantage and abuses her orgiastic juices. I said, oh, why are we not learning these aspects of the mother in mass, child? That nothing offends her more than someone who takes advantage and misuses or mistreats her sexual dynamicism. Your ass is liable to get got. Your ass is liable to be devoured alive if you disrespect her orgasm. I said, this is what I'm talking about. Because now you can see it ain't just your baby daddy or some nigga you was in a long-term relationship or married to that's got to pay. It's probably every motherfucker you ever had sex with that's got to pay, because damn none of them don't treat with any kind of reverence the magic that is the serpent of the Nile, your open vagina from which the waters of life springs forward, whether in birth or whether in orgasmic pleasure. Child. And so I told the sister today, I was like, no, it's not enough. It's not enough to just get free from a monstrous motherfucker. Now I told her, if you need to, write that nigga name on the conspiracy, and at least one time a week of the collective reading of the conspiracy, you say that motherfucker name out loud. So this reading, your reading, powered up by all these other people around the world who are reading the conspiracy at the same time at 11 p.m. Universal Standard Time. You feel me? Now all our energy is contributing to your peculiar intention. So do that. If you need to break spells that you've cast against yourself or against people you didn't mean it, you was just wild, you was just crazy, you was just mad, you feel me? But you really didn't mean it, because that shit can have an impact on their life, y'all. I'm just trying to tell you. And I'm not telling you anything that I have not done. Okay? So use it how you see fit. I told you on day one, but I will reiterate it. I am reading to you the conspiracy today at 11 p.m. every universal time. You feel me? And I'm always using my ancestral staff to call the ancestors to back up the conspiracy. But honey, you can light sage, you can light candles, you can wear ceremonial clothes, you can do a spiritual bath before we come together. Tailor this shit how you want to. This is what it means to be the center of your universe. Tailor it how you want to. Do what it is you feel like resonates with your flesh. The reason that it is important for us to center pleasure, to center ecstasy, to center feeling good in the moment in your actual flesh is because now it gives you a frame of reference with which to discern the lifetime of self-denial has taught you to not trust your flesh. You can't trust yourself. You can't trust your desires. You can't trust your flesh. Therefore, you can't trust your mind. You can't trust the voices in your own head. But you don't even have a frame of reference about what guiltless pleasure feels like in your body, because everything that makes your flesh happy has been demonized. So you can't even have a healthy understanding of the voices in your own head. You can't even, it is hard for us to discern in those early stages. It's hard for us to even discern what's the difference between my imagination. Am I talking to myself? Is spirit talking to me? Is the divine talking to me? Or is this my ancestors? Because our flesh has been so corrupted, so brutalized, taught consistently to function against its own intuition, instincts. So you have to be able to regularly engage in pleasurable, ritualized, pleasurable experiences. So now you know without failure what you are experiencing when you experience goosebumps or when you experience butterflies in your stomach. Is this my defense mechanism? Is this my defense mechanism rallying on my behalf? Or is this the pleasurable response to something that seems very ancient and familiar to me? But without living in a state of pleasure to give yourself the contrast with which to discern between, we still default to antiquated, imposed ideas about what spirituality means, what it looks like, and what it feels like in our bodies. I didn't mean to go off on that long, but it was a word. It was a word that needed to be reiterated because of this experience. Why I told you this in the first place. This experience that happened 3 minutes before I went live. 3 minutes before I went live. And had to make this declaration that you are the center of your universe. You do for yourself in ceremony what resonates with you. But what cannot happen, which is what she was trying to win, what cannot happen is for me, based on your experience of the mother with you. This is your experience with the mother. This is your peculiar experience with the mother. What cannot happen is that because you say the mother told me, that I take it upon myself to communicate your peculiar experience as a position that we are going to take in how we conduct the conspiracy to right all wrongs from the position of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. That's not going to happen. If it ever happens, if it ever comes to a point in our walk together where my position changes, and I'm not opposed to that because that's what it means to be evolutionary. They say when I'm 60 or 70 and I'm like, you know what? I've had a breakthrough. This has been our tenant for all this time. You feel me? But I think I've changed my position. I'm not requiring you to do it, but I think I am going to actively take a vow of celibacy, or I am going to actively take a period of time where I am abstaining from food. Or what I can tell you with great certainty, that shit ain't never gonna happen. But I am open to the possibility that sometime in the future, the mother may be like, fuck that. You changed your mind because I say so. And this is the experience that you got to have. And even if it happens, which is very unlikely, it's still not no shit that I would say you have to do to maintain a relationship with the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. Because what's the most important thing in the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence? The honoring of the sovereignty of every incarnate on earth. From the time they breathe their first breath to the time they breathe their last. That's the center. That's the center. And then everything out from there. Everything out from there, right? That's the center, is the honoring of sovereignty. From there, the next most important thing is to center spiritual ecstasy. Spiritual ecstasy. The way we give gratitude to the mother is through ecstasy, bitch. That's how we show the mother for real that we really love her and we really thankful for our life. It's the same way you demonstrate that shit to your own mama when you a baby. She is filled by your happiness. She is made happy by your giggles. She loves to see you play on the playground and eat mud and shit. Your unconscious default into just seeking pleasure, that's what makes your actual earth mother happy. When you are happy, she is happy for you. She's ecstatic. You feel me? That's what your mother wants from you. That's how you express gratitude to the mother, not solemnness, not deprivation. That's that nigga shit. That's that male shit. Okay? That's that Y chromosome shit under the governance of the make-believe father. Somebody emailed me the other day, a dude, and I haven't responded. I don't intend to respond. I was mad. I won't say I was mad. I was annoyed because when my position didn't line up with his position, he got forceful. And he was like, no, I get it. I get it. Our little mutated X chromosome, our little mutant Y chromosome. I get it. That's why y'all don't ever think men can be right. I was like, first of all, that ain't no shit y'all ever heard me say at all. When I talk about the affliction of the Y chromosome, of Y bearing chromosome human beings, that affliction is not an affliction of its existence in and of itself, because the mother created that Y chromosome. The affliction is that Y chromosome under the governance of the Father God, the fictitious make-believe Father God that always has, particularly those with Y chromosomes, default to masculine supremacy. Always. Your inability to come to right conclusion is because you have severed a relationship with your mother, not because you was born with a Y chromosome. Your masculinity is because your mother willed it so in your creation. Your ability to do things that women as gods on earth should not have to do is because your mother willed it so. This shit that you call masculinity never existed under the mother. Never did. Never did. This shit that you equate with masculinity, malignant power, subduing women, running through women, sowing your wild oats, quote, planting seed all over all of that shit, honey, that is a monstrous, malignant expression through you bearing a Y chromosome of your make-believe as Father God. So your Y chromosome is not your problem, baby. Your Y chromosome is not your problem. Your Y chromosome is a problem. Your Y chromosome is impacted by patriarchy. The benefits that come, that the mother saw fit to create the Y chromosome, the benefits elude you because while the world is the way that it is, the Y chromosome is a weapon in the hand of the father, not a harmonious expression of balance and harmony between the divine feminine and the sacred masculine that exists in every single human being on earth. These poles exist in every last one of us. You, Y-bearing chromosome people in particular, not exclusively, but in particular, you have cut off yourself from the source, from the divine expression that is visible and evident in every possible way to lay your allegiance with an invisible, fictitious, aloof, horribly violent, bloodthirsty, lunatic, maniac. That's your problem. That's the only problem that I have with the Y chromosome. Because even as much as men tend to get on my motherfucking nerves with dumb shit, not in general, just being male is not what makes you get on my nerves. It's the dumb shit you concede to, man, that don't make no sense to nobody else on earth but you. That's the shit. And even with as much as people have gotten on my nerves, I still love men. I still desire men. I still love male bodies. I even love when I meet males who are like deeply intellectual and spiritual. Do you understand? I'm trying to teach y'all males something. Because the problems that you have are yours. They are of your creation. Because if women, quote, hated men the way y'all be out here professing all the time, there would be, listen, if women hated men in mass the way y'all profess, right? Male loneliness epidemic and shit like that. Then, baby, this shit that y'all complaining about would be at catastrophic levels. At catastrophic levels. In general, women are always articulate, even in their frustration. Even in their frustration, women are always articulating a desire within them for you to evolve. It's an expression of frustration because they're like, babe, all we try to tell you is that we need you to evolve, that we are evolving and that we need that from you. We are frustrated because women still in general like men, but we cannot accept you the way that you have always been, bitch. It is time for you to grow. And it ain't our responsibility to grow you. It's not our responsibility to nurture you. It's not our responsibility to coddle you. This is man shit. This grown man shit that we're asking you to do. And really, it's the bare minimum. It is to evolve. It is to evolve. It is to become your God self. That's what we're requiring. So your frustration ain't with us. Your frustration is in alignment with a male God who is opposed to evolution, because every time humanity leaps forward, his ass is exposed. He becomes weaker. That's why none of these patriarchal religions want you to evolve, are absolutely diametrically opposed to even the word evolution. Is because for human beings to evolve spiritually, politically, socially, represents another nail in the coffin of one that is already mortally wounded and don't recognize it yet. Every time you stage a contest, whether verbally or physically with a woman, you are prolonging your own suffering. That's what you're doing. You're not expressing power, sir. You are prolonging your own misery. For every woman you harm, for every woman you put hands on, for every woman whose life you take, you are shortening your own life expectancy. You are guaranteeing that something in the world is going to happen to you where you come into confrontation with somebody stronger than you that can do to you what you have done to this woman. I'm trying to give you a word. I'm trying to give you a word. Every harm that is done to you, every job that you've been fired from unjustly, every harm that has been done to you is a reflection. You better get comfortable. Yes, white supremacy is real. Yes, all of these things, but multiple things can be true at the same time. Every harm you do to a woman, I promise you, has already been expressed in your life. Because you hate women, you cannot see that this terrible thing that has happened to you, even at the hands of the state, and the state is wrong, that this is a child. This is retribution. This is retribution. Some wrong, something you have done to some woman being paid in full. Don't nobody want to hear that. They want to keep shit strictly political and strictly one directional. That ain't how the world works. That is not what divine harmony means. That is damn sure not what universal cyclicity means. You understand? So now that I'm done with that. But stop making your life miserable. Men, stop making your life miserable. This dude who swear he about that life gonna inbox me talking about, oh, I see how it is. You know, men can't have no position. Men can't say nothing because we just mutants, because we just got a mutant X. Boy, stop. Grown ass man. Grown. My age grown. And, oh, you know, I'm all about the goddess. Nigga, you lying. You lying. You ain't as deep in the shit as you think you is. Because for that to be your default position to a non-antagonistic statement that I made, you ain't as about that life as you think. Or you wear this shit like a costume. You understand? So anyway. Let's see. So the reason I got off on that whole tangent about the the vows of celibacy for the for the conspiracy and this is because of this statement here about hair. Judeo-Christian patriarchy was generally hostile toward hair because of its pagan sexual connotations. The other moment I had while reading that is I've told y'all the story many, many times about why, even though I had been read, I got my head read as Oya. That said that Oya sits on my head and Shango sits in my heart. And people keep asking, why did you never get initiated? And I said, because I couldn't find a priest, even my own godmother, who is a female priest, I could not find a single priest, at least in the United States, that would do my initiation without the ritual removal of my hair. Even my own godmother, who I knew for years before she became my godmother. We were friends before she became my godmother. And so when she said she wouldn't do it, that's what sent me on this deep dive about the origin of the requirement for the ritual removal of hair. I said, so is this, and myself, I'm asking, okay, the ritual removal of hair and initiation is the first question I always ask when somebody says it's tradition. The first question I always ask, is this a tradition of origin or is this a tradition of imposition? So when I ask the question of myself, is the ritual removal of hair originally African, or was it a response very long ago that just stayed because people didn't know the frame of reference? Is it response to first the Arab conquest or Arab colonization in Africa, or Christian European colonization of Africa? Were these things that people still do because we always did it like this, but they don't know that the origin of this practice is actually Arab or Christian, which made the most sense to me because both of them practice the ritual removal of hair for those that they call evil. You feel me? So I was like, man, maybe that's it. And so I started, because my opposition to the ritual, because I had been bald 3 times in my adult life. So it wasn't even, because that was everybody's default. When I said I was not willing to remove my hair, it was, oh, you just being prideful, you just being arrogant. The fuck? That when I tell you that was regularly the default. You just being arrogant, you just being prideful. The fuck? First of all, you don't know me like that. And I told my godmother in a reading when Oya and Shango came down previously under the Babalao, I was like, look, you've been doing my readings for years, and even you have said that the presence of my North American native ancestry is always dominating the space in my Ifa readings. Even she said that, right? And so I am now actively engaging that. I'm actively engaging that missing part of my ancestry. I said, so actively engaging that, I'm at this moment in my life, I'm not interested in the ritual removal of my hair. Will you do the initiation without the ritual removal of my hair? So in Nigeria, apparently, they have, because they just interested in getting the money. They interested in all these Negroes coming from the West to get these initiations. And so they have actually created, Nigerian Babalaos have created a process to so part of what they say is the reason for it's not the only reason, but the main reason that they talk about the requirement for the ritual removal of hair to be initiated in any, to any Orisha or into Ifa, is because they have to place the ashe into your head. A part of the ceremony is they do a divination and they figure out which herbs or awe come down in the reading. They burn the herbs to ash, and then they have to, quote, place the ashe in incisions made in your head. So there's an incision made here in the front of your head, and the top of your head, and the very back of your head, and on both sides over the ears. 5 incisions are made with a razor, a small razor, nix, and to open up your ashe so that the plant medicine can be rubbed as ash into the ashe. That's one reason they talk about the necessity of the ritual removal of hair. In Nigeria, they have started to create ceremonies that they tax you for. They make you pay more for the initiation because so many Black women from like Europe and from the United States were going to have to get initiation, but because of work and because of how violent society is about our head hair anyway, they didn't want nobody asking them no questions. And so the Babalaos has started just taking a little razor and removing a little patch of hair to expose the points of the ashe, while the women keep the rest of their head hair. You feel me? Nobody that I talked to for years, because it was said that I was told before the mat in 2016 that Oya ruled my head and Shango ruled my heart. And so from 2016 to today, I've never entertained initiation again, because I was like, if the mother wants me to be initiated, then it's going to happen on the terms that I said. that it's going to be a woman that does my initiation, that I am never again in this life allowing a male to have access to my ashe or place no ashe into my head. I do not go to males to get divination no more. I do not go to babalawos to get readings no more. The only people that have access to my ashe are those who are born with uteruses. Period. 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 I do not make that a requirement of anybody else. For me, in my walk through Ifa and the things that came to me as a consequence, that's where I'm at right now. You feel me? And so, because my godmother, who is really the only one I would trust to do my initiation, because I know her, I love her, I appreciate her gangster, I appreciate her fluidity, I love her. But she is a hardcore traditionalist in the practice of Ifa. And so she's like, I can't in good conscience do your initiation without removing your hair. I was like, I ain't gonna push. That's your conviction, and I have to respect that. It ain't my place to convince you otherwise. You feel me? So when I started doing this deep dive into the history, the origin versus the imposition of the ritual removal of hair, right? And I'll be honest, it's concerning because the oldest reference to the ritual removal of hair that I have found so far is actually ancient Egypt. It's Kemet. It's Kemet. It's Kemet. Not only that, I told y'all I've been watching this show called Rome. I just finished it yesterday. I've been watching the show Rome, and it talks about when first Julius Caesar went to have this sordid affair with Cleopatra, and then after Caesar died, a couple years later, Mark Antony went to Egypt, was sent to Egypt, actually forced out at Rome, was sent to Egypt, and then he and the same Cleopatra became lovers and had 2 children, right? It was interesting watching Rome this last season, these last few episodes, where Mark Antony and Cleopatra are in this relationship, and everybody in the kingdom had to have their hair removed. Everybody had to have their hair removed. I was like, oh shit. So I literally flashed back to them years ago when I did this deep dive into the customs of like torsion and all of that stuff, the ritual removal of hair, thinking that its origin was in this growing ideology about witches and witchcraft and all that shit being like Arab and Christian nations. But the oldest reference to the ritual removal of hair was in ancient Egypt, was in the early dynastic period. And so anyway, so that's why I never got initiated. I still am open to the possibility of receiving Oya, being crowned Oya, just because I love her so, and I still reference her, and I still see her in my life everywhere. You feel me? But it's still going to be on the terms that I said. You call it prideful if you want to, call it arrogant if you want to. I trust me because I am a sovereign entity and I am the center of my universe, and my spirituality is informed by that. Just like I teach everybody else to be. So I trust that. So anyway, and so it causes me now reading this to ask the question, if the practice of the ritual removal of hair in Ifa and the ritual removal of hair in even ancient Kemet has its origin in this same thing about castrating a person's power. You hear me? About castrating a person's power. Judeo-Christian patriarchy was generally hostile towards hair because of its pagan sexual connotations. Celibate priesthoods often adopted the torsion or tonsure or shaven head because it symbolized genital mutilation, i.e. castration and circumcision. St. Paul, whose epistles contain veiled recommendations for emasculation, said, quote, if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him. 1 Corinthians 11:14. Paul insisted that women's hair must be concealed under head coverings when they attend religious services because of, quote, the angels, 1 Corinthians 11:10. But the basis was the hair they saw having direct sexual connotations, especially, quote, long, dark hair. Especially, quote, according to the Bible, long, dark hair. According to Greek mythology, long, dark hair having sexual connotations. It also helps me to understand probably the genetic memory responses of why white women are made so uncomfortable when they meet black women who have long hair that has actually grown out of their head. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Like, what is it about black women's hair, especially if it's long, like especially if it's naturally long? Y'all, my hair is way shorter than it was, but y'all, I can innumerable interactions with only white women. This has never happened from anywhere else, from anybody else. Only white women who they'll be like, it's like that nasty nice I'm always talking about, how they'll give you a compliment, but you can see in their mannerisms like this unexplained discomfort or even rage. Oh my God, is that all your hair? These little facial expressions. Oh my God, it's so long. This discomfort that they have, not only with black hair, but especially how they are diseasy. They are mad. And I've experienced this so many times and could never explain it until I started doing a deep dive into the history of hair. They are mad when they meet a black bitch who hair down her back. I didn't even know black women could get long hair. Now you know why. This is they unresolved genetic curses responding to this thing that they have been taught about the inherent sexual connotations associated with especially long hair. If a man have long hair, it is a shame to him. Paul also insisted. Meanwhile, we just read the page before how long hair was seen to be the source of a man's magic. When? Under the goddess. When? Under the, what did it say? That a man with long hair, this was seen as the, that a man with long hair, it was indicated, a man, long, thick hair on a male indicated virility and vital power. Virility and vital power. You feel me? You feel me? Fast forward to the Hebrews and them. You feel me? Now, long hair on a man is a shame. It's a shame. You feel me? And so they would perform rituals of symbolized genital mutilation, like castration and circumcision, by willingly cutting off their hair, the male priests. So could this be or could they have received that understanding from Egypt? Who were already, long before the Hebrew traditions, were practicing mandatory removal of hair? Anyway, so 1 Corinthians 11:10, meaning the spirits that were supposed to be attracted or controlled by unbound female hair. Child, listen. I just told you there was a reason that Kali kept her hair wild. That it wasn't just because she didn't want to keep her hair neat. She didn't want her hair to be neat. She kept her hair wild because when people saw it, they knew instantly it was an expression of her inability to be bound, to conform, to be chained. It was a symbol of her unbridled, untamable power, her wild hair. You understand? So anyway, medieval churchmen commanded women to wear head coverings to church and even demanded complete shaving of the heads of religious women, such as nuns. And I didn't know until recently, because there's this girl that I know, she's Jewish, and she was like, yeah, when Jewish women get married, so supposedly Jewish girls' hair is not cut. From the time they're born until the time they get married, their hair is never cut, right? They have to grow their hair. And then on the night that they get married, their husband has to remove their hair as a symbol that that now she belongs to him, they remove their hair. They remove their hair. And guess what? It's a big business out here. Jewish women will not regrow their hair while they are married to their husbands. So to compensate for that, there are whole Jewish businesses of wig makers who make these radical, beautiful, awesome, highly expensive wigs, crazy expensive wigs for because Jewish women's heads must be covered. Now, if they keep their hair, which some do, they still have to hide their head hair from the public. Nobody can lay eyes on their head hair. So they wrap their own head hair up and wear a wig over it instead of the traditional covering. Instead of the traditional head covering, they wear these, I ain't crazy. I saw this one video of this woman, and she has wigs that are $3,000. It's a whole ass business out here. These extraordinarily expensive wigs that only cater to Jewish women who have to meet the requirement of keeping their hair covered. That if they do grow their hair, the only person that can look on their head hair is their husbands, who ritually removes their hair the night they get married. Y'all, you hear me? This why, right? This is explaining why right here. You feel me? The wilding spirits let loose by women's hair. You feel me? The deep and pagan sexual connotations hidden in the power of women's hair. You feel me? Hold on. What else? They say that even heroes of the ancient age, they all had long hair. That's what it said. All the Greek heroes and all the other heroes like Samson and all the like, who existed under goddess worshiping societies, their long hair was a statement of their virility and their power, their vital source, their vital essence, in harmony with the mother, in relationship to the mother. And the only time that they removed that hair was as a sacrifice to the mother. Fast forward to the consolidation of patriarchal traditions all over the goddamn planet. Now it becomes a requirement. It becomes emblematic, not in men, not as vital force and power. Now it becomes a method of symbolized genital mutilation, castration, and circumcision, which are ceremonies to, quote, cut men off from their relationship to the mother. That's what they for. You feel me? I know I'm blowing y'all mind right now because my mind is blown. Medieval churchmen, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, here it is. Medieval churchmen commanded women to wear head coverings to church and even demanded complete shaving of the heads of religious women, such as nuns. In 18th century Bavaria, the law listed, quote, lewd loosing of the hair. Lewd loosing of the hair as a crime on par with adultery. And then you look at goddamn circumstances and conditions of women in Afghanistan right now, who the young girl in Iran, what was it, 2 years ago, who was murdered in a jail, being arrested by, what do they call them? The morality police in Iran, because a strand of her hair, she had her hijab on and she's walking down the street and a strand of her hair came from under her hijab, and under the goddamn morality police yanked her ass off the street, 19-year-old baby, put her ass in jail and tortured her to death. Now you know why. Even though you don't know your power, they remember your power, and everything they do is an expression of that memory that we can't never let these bitches loose. We can't never let these bitches loose. Not only that, we can't never let them remember. How did they assist in your amnesia? Through brute fucking force. The crimes against your body. You understand? It's in Bavaria in the 18th century. This wasn't but a hot second ago. This is during the Age of Enlightenment, as a matter of fact. In Bavaria, the law listed, quote, lewd loosing of the hair as a crime on par with adultery. The Inquisition took it for granted that witches could raise storms just by loosing their hair. Just by loosing their hair. British churches used to order men to cut their hair on the day before Good Friday, so that they would be, quote, honest, i.e. Christian, for the Easter holidays. Therefore, this haircutting day came to be known as Shear Thursday. The Anglican Church also directed that a woman at her churching after childbirth must be decently apparelled, which was interpreted by the Chancellor of Norwich in 1661 to mean that she must be covered by a veil. One woman protested and took her case to court. The judges asked the opinion of the Archbishop of Canterbury and a panel of bishops who ruled that the quote ancient usage of the Church of England was to veil women. The case was thrown out. Churchmen continued to regard women's head covering as an essential symbol of female suppression. Listen. I am hearing more and more and more and more women being put forward to parrot the ideas of males based on their allegiance to certain spiritual traditions, religious traditions. I'm seeing more and more and more and more women talking about, the outside world just doesn't understand. We are not oppressed because we wear the burqa or the hijab. This is still our choice based on our reverence for Allah, that men don't force us to wear burqa. Men don't force us to wear hijab, right? This is our choice. I'm seeing YouTube videos of girls that are supposed to be real hip and modern defending the head coverings, the head dressings, people defending the rights of women in different European countries to wear the hijab and burqa, right? And recognizing multiple things can be true at the same time. That the reason that these women are being attacked and assaulted and shamed and all of that shit in European countries is because not of Islamophobia. I'm gonna just tell you, it might be Islamophobia. But I have a sneaking suspicion it's more sinister than that. I have a sneaking suspicion that it is more sinister than that. That is the face that it has been given by progressives, that these are the ways that Islamophobia shows up in the world, and that we must protect people's right to religious freedom. Okay, so this becomes a blanket statement about the religious freedom, not about the criminality inherent in all patriarchal religions. You see, that never comes up among the progressives, right? That never comes up. That's why I always call that shit some sleight of hand shit. It's some sleight of hand shit that always further conceals what the true expression is that's hiding in plain sight, is the need for women to be completely sovereign, completely liberated. So everything becomes the issue about these two opposing forces, the Christian right, the Christian extremists versus Islam, and how Muslims are being mistreated because of white supremacy as the church. And so it's Islamophobia. That, to me, is not the question of the day. I will never judge some woman for wearing the burqa, wearing the hijab. My concern is always, is this really an expression of your individual decision making, the independence of your decision making, or is it still what it always is, right? The fear of a make-believe deity who everything that he says is a terroristic threat about what will happen to you if you don't follow the fucking line. Then he has male agents of these things that he says that will carry out through violent action and suppression those things that they God said, if your ass, especially as female, get the fuck out of line. And so women say, these are my decisions and these are my choices. But those decisions and those choices that you make are based on an understanding that you have that has been forcefully denied the ability to evolve, honey. that have been forcefully devised to prevent your evolution. So yeah, there are a lot of decisions that I made that were my decisions to make based on my limited understanding of myself in the world. So I can still go back and say that was some fucked up bullshit that I did, but also at the same time recognize that that fucked up bullshit that I did was based on an understanding of the world that was imposed on me, child. An understanding that was imposed on me by force, by shame, by guilt. So yeah, I will never condemn some Arab woman, some practicing Muslim woman for dressing according to where her beliefs align at any time. That doesn't mean that I'm not always going to be dropping little gems and shit, little breadcrumbs for her to follow, so to assist in her covert evolution. I'm still going to do that in every space, even when I was being asked regularly, at least once a month, to make presentations and do seminars at the headquarters of the Tampa Bay Nation of Islam, invited by the brothers. Can you do a meeting for the sisters? Can you lead a discussion for the whole group? Because my thing was health and wellness, right? It doesn't mean that even though I am in a space, invited, trusted to be in a space, recognizing the gruesome contradictions of the ideas that they are embodying based on imposition, child, based on a culture of guilt and shaming and imposition, that I'm not going to be in real time dropping breadcrumbs that are undeniable for both the males in the room and the females in the room. Because I ain't interested in nothing but everybody evolution. That's all I'm interested in. Anyway. But now you know the origin of all things. Now you know the origin of what you're witnessing. Because I reject every time I hear somebody talk about, the real issue in America right now is Islamophobia. No, the fuck it ain't. No, it's not. And everybody too cowardly to say what the issue is. Because what you do as a so-called progressive, talking about the primary issue and the conditions confronting people who are practicing Muslims or who are Arabs is Islamophobia. You are defending Islam. I got a problem with that. I just got to make the declaration plain. I got a problem with that. My issue is not with the practitioners of Islam at all, because they are still sovereign beings. So whatever decisions that they make for their lives at the place that they are in and their understanding, those are their decisions to make. So I still would not shame anybody about wearing the burqa. If somebody came to the temple wearing a burqa or wearing a hijab, guess what? They would be welcome into the temple. They probably wouldn't come back. They probably would leave after the first 5 or 10 minutes, but they welcome to walk through the doors without guilt, without shame, without people looking at them, without them being made to feel embarrassed or anything like that. But I'm telling you, when I did that whole thing about the duality of the red and blue, and I'm telling you, that duality that we talked about, the whole long mythology of it, that duality has an impact on your actual brain, on your actual life, in political life right now, today. That shit is always trying to win you from one side to the other through fucking sleight of hand shit that never allow you to get to the center, that never allow you to get to the crux of what it is you are observing. So y'all flim, seesaw back and forth between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party and why they both bad or why they both good and all of that dumbass shit. And none of the shit they talking about is the issue of the day. None of it. None of it. None of it. It's the same. It's the same way with these religious institutions, the back and forth, the sleight of hands, the hiding shit in plain sight to distract you or get your little tail feathers in a roof over some shit that don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Oh my God, they're being denied their right to practice freedom of religion. We have to pray around all these demonstrations, all these white people in hundreds circling around praying Muslim students. Y'all really think this is the issue of the day? Y'all really think that this show that y'all just put on is going to have any kind of impact on the lives of those students that you claim to, quote, be circling around to protect them while they pray to Allah? Anyway, and make no mistake, they all can get it. Allah can get it. Yahweh can get it. Jehovah can get it. Krishna can get it. Shiva can get it. They can all get it. They can get it with the same smoke, with the same exact smoke. They can get it with the same exact smoke. You feel me? Anyway, Ifa can get it, by the way. Kemetic spiritual traditions, Kemetic, quote, African traditional, they can get it. They can get it. They are all guilty. While the mother is subordinate, while the mother is submissive to, while the mother is an appendage of, in any religion, where the father takes precedence, where the father is supreme, where the mother, even if they have some goddesses, she like over there like a little appendage to the true power. You can get this smoke, child. You can get this smoke. You can get it. You can get it. Anyway. Churching after childbirth, the case was thrown out. The churchmen continued to regard women's head covering as an essential symbol of female suppression. A New Jersey Presbyterian, the Reverend Dr. Craven, said in the 1870s that, quote, under every clime, CLIME, under every clime, from the peasant woman of Naples with a handkerchief over her hair to the women before me with bonnets, everyone wears something on her head. Everyone who wears something on her head everyone wears something on their head as a token of their subordination. As a token of their subordination. You hear me? So it reminds me of this thing that we always hearing about what was it called? The Tigran laws in New Orleans, the Tigran laws. So the story is that the reason that the Tigran laws, I think that's the Tigran laws or the Tegan laws, something like that, that the reason that they were created, right, was because there were so many mulatto black women, you feel me, in New Orleans at the time, and their hair was so beautiful and distracting that the Tigran laws were, quote, imposed on them, so that good respectable men wouldn't be attracted to them or whatever the fuck. That's how we was always told about the Tigran laws and what the Tigran laws represented. And so being black women and doing what we do, we started wearing these really beautiful head coverings, like pimping our head coverings, since we were being forced by law to cover our hair in public. Sound to me like it wasn't just about, quote, our hair was so fabulous that we had to have it covered so the white men wouldn't lust after us and no dumbass shit like it's been presented. That this is the basis of it right here. This shit right here. This shit that I just read in 1870 about seeing from the what do you say? From the handkerchief to the bonnet to the scarf. These women are, he say, these women, he said, from the peasant woman to the affluent. This is something everyone wears on her head in token of her subordination. In token, she crystal clear. This is a symbol of my subordination. When I submit to this, this is a symbol of my subordination. That's what he said. It is curious to see how contradictory was the rule. How contradictory was the rule applied to the sexes. For men, removing the hat was a token of subordination, whereas to remain covered in the presence of a person of authority was an indication of equality. Interesting. So there you go. We might have to and here's the head right here. I'm tempted to read about the head, since all of these things are talking about the head, how the Christian monks kept the head around here, but the friars, right? And then you see the Arabs wearing the kufis over the same spot. You see the Christians wearing whatever they call a little thing, like the Pope, he wear one, this little thing right over here, right on top of their crown chakra. You feel me? How the friar monks from 300-400 years ago cut all the hair except the hair. I mean, cut all this hair up here and lift all the hair around the edge. You feel me? My battery is about to die, damn it, on my phone. Okay, let me see. I might not even be. I think my phone was fucking up anyway. Hold on, let me see. I think it did. Show it. Hold on. Whew. All right. Let me see if I can prevent my phone from dying. I'm gonna get up off here anyway. I got shit to do, but I probably want to read this thing about the head since we on one. And guess what? I still haven't read a single word that I intended to read. Here we go again. I still ain't read a single word I intended to read. Not one. Hold on. I'm trying to what you call it? What they call it? Ghetto ingenuity. Trying to engineer a prop for my phone since I have to have the cord in it. Okay. All right. So yep, this is gonna be the last one I read. The head. I still ain't got to none of the words, whatever that I wanted to read. Head. Ancient Indo-Europeans quite correctly assumed that the real seat of human personality or soul is in the head. Therefore, they worshipped heads, which were sometimes detached from the bodies of dead heroes or deified ancestors and preserved as oracles. This is in the movie. This is in the show Rome I was telling you about too. Like, they didn't have ancestor shrines. What they did was they took a mask. They took a cast of their recently deceased face before they were put on the funeral pyre. They took a cast of their loved one's face with this substance that was kind of like see-through. And then they had a whole ancestral wall, and they would play. So on the wall would be like panels, and they would put the cast of the loved one's face on the panel where there was a candle behind the face, so the whole face would light up, and they would light the candle behind all the mask of the ancestors before doing ceremony or whatever. They would worship the person's head. Anyway, that's in that show Rome that I was just telling y'all about. Okay, so the Inglinga saga tells how the god Odin himself depended on the mummified head of a much older deity, Mimir, to whisper to him the secrets that constituted his magical wisdom. Mimir was once a being of supreme power who was, quote, classed with the Norns as originally one over whom Odin held no sway, and to whom even the All-Father had to appear as a petitioner. So the Norns were the Fates. Mummified heads were speaking oracles in numerous Celtic tales. Bran, Lomnia, Finn, McColmael, Sir Gawain, and the Green Knight were all heroes of the auricular head cult. Oh my God. Remember a couple of months ago, I did that whole long dive because one of you put in the comment section, and it never even occurred to me. Damn, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but somebody in the comment section said, damn, maybe that'll explain why there's so many movies about cutting people's heads off or headless people. Or I was like, oh shit. So I do a deep dive on the occult symbolism, the historical symbolism, mythologies around headlessness. And that sent me on a whole crazy ass deep dive. But one of the main things I talked about in that live was about the cult, the Celtic cult that was centered around headlessness, because they believed that the heads, even after removed, to possess the head of a person was to possess the power of that person. So that was a primary token, especially of like a leader of the opposition or whatever. They sought to cut the head off, and then they would keep the head as a token, preserve the head, keep the head as a token, um, as a token, because they believe to control, to own the head of the person is to have access to the power of that person even in death. Okay, so here it is again. It says that these were all heroes of the auricular head cult. Similarly, the head of Osiris was supposed to give oracles at the ancient shrine of Abydos. The head of Orpheus of Abydos. The head of Orpheus gave forth sacred poems and prophecies in a Dionysian temple, and the biblical teraphim were said to be mummified heads of deified ancestors. Celts often made fetishes not only of real heads, but also of the heads carved from stone or wood for the same purposes. Beheading, real or symbolic. I remember what it was in reference to because we did that whole thing, 3 long deep dives on the concept of the quickening, and how in the movie The Quickening, this was how each immortal was able to absorb the power of another immortal, was they had to remove their head, and that was the only way that they could experience the quickening, was the removal of their opposition's head. I remember the context. Beheading, real or symbolic, became a ritual of deification or sacred imitation. Men were dedicated to the goddess of Artemis at Brauron by a cut on the neck, remnant of earlier beheadings. The ceremony of knighthood, touching with a sword from shoulder. Oh shit, y'all. Listen, y'all. The ceremony of knighthood, the touching with a sword, first one shoulder, then the other, was another remnant of earlier beheadings that made heroes or gods out of ordinary men. One of the old Celtic gods of the auricular head metamorphosed into a Christian saint named Alban, originally Albion, the white moon, an archaic name for Britain. The Christianized story said that Saint Alban was beheaded in the 3rd century AD, but this story was written 300 years later by the monk Gildas, a great inventor of mythical sainthoods, all of them replete with marvels and miracles. Saint Alban was depicted with a fountain springing from beneath his feet. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Listen, y'all. Saint Alban was depicted with a fountain springing from beneath his feet, a common pagan symbol of esoteric knowledge. The archaic Norse deity Mimir was also the spirit of a fountain. Is this sounding familiar? The spirit of a fountain, which bore the same name, source of Odin's magic drink of enlightenment. In Irish folklore, the auricular spirit took the form of the Dolacan, a ghost carrying its own head. Listen, the headless horseman. The headless horseman. Is this the origin of that story? In Irish folklore, the auricular spirit took the form of the Dolacan, a ghost carrying its own head, riding horseback, a Celtic symbol of apotheosis. Uh, Riding horseback, a symbol of a Celtic symbol of apotheosis. This Irish spirit was the probable. Here she says it. This Irish spirit was the probable origin of Sleepy Hollow's famous headless horseman. It in turn resembled the Hindu um, uh, Dunda. So it's Dolacan in Celtic or Irish tradition, and Dunda, which rode with its head fastened to its saddle. Headhunters of Central and South America also regarded their cephalic trophies as sacred objects or soul houses. Heads of ancestors were kept in oratories and offered their share of the feast each holy day. As among the ancient Hebrews and Celts, the mummified head was respectfully treated as a magical auricular object. The general idea was still extant in England during the 14th century AD, when a Southwark sorcerer was found in possession of a corpse's head, which he used for divination. The Hindu goddess Kali wore a garland of skulls or severed heads identified with the alphabetical letters and with her sacred rosary, the Japamala. Mm, mm. Oh, there's one more I got to read. Sorry. My bad, y'all. I forget the same. But anyway, the next one is the heart. I promise this is the last one. Heart. The Catholic Church claimed that its symbol of the Sacred Heart began with a vision of Saint Marguerite Marie Alacoque, late in the 17th century, depicted by her as a heart surrounded by a crown of thorns. The symbol was, however, a great deal older than that. It appeared in an alchemical text published before Saint Marguerite Marie was born. It appeared in a number of stained glass windows and cloister decorations several centuries earlier, and the symbol of the heart as a stand-in for the soul was a commonplace of Christian iconography. The tim the tim the tympanum of Bourges Cathedral show the vessel of the soul weighed in the balances after death, bearing a striking resemblance to the ancient Egyptian ab, or heart soul, that was to be weighed in the balances by the goddess Ma'at, mother of truth. The ab was that one the Ab was that one of the Egyptian seven souls that was supposed to come directly from the mother's heart in the form of the holy lunar blood that descended into her womb to take the shape of her child. The hieroglyphic sign for this eminently matriarchal idea was a dancing figure representing the inner dance of life perceived in the heartbeat. As long as the dance continued, life went on. Osiris in his death phase was called the still heart because he no longer danced. The idea of a heartbeat dance at the core of all living things was vividly presented in Oriental symbolism by the perpetual dance of Shiva, see dance, which we read yesterday, taking place in the center of the universe, which is also the human heart. The reason I had a moment is because as soon as I read that, like glanced at it, I heard of, and I'm going to probably butcher the saying, but I heard of, I think it's from the Lakota people, a saying by the Lakota people that something to the effect of the nation of our people will remain until, I know I'm saying it wrong. I'm probably saying it backwards. But the nation of the people will remain until some ooh the nation of the people will remain. Oh my God. Basically, it's saying that the people will live forever until, no, it's different than that. Damn it. It's like, oh, I used to know this by heart. It's like, something to the effect of the people will not, our nation will never end unless, unless the heart of its women, unless the heart of its women lay on the ground. that as long as the women remain, the nation will remain, essentially is what it translates to. But it specifically says that we will always remain unless the hearts of our women lay on the ground. That as long as the women remain, the nation remain. Right? So anyway, that's all I got for you. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully you were fed by this reading that was so unintentional, because I still didn't get to a single solitary word that I was going to read today. Mm-hmm. Not a one. Not a one. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that might be one. I'll mark it. But that might be one we have to get into, because remember yesterday I was talking, I don't remember specifically what I was talking about, but I had referenced how one of the stories we read, there is one more thing I have to say. But first, let me say this. I was referencing one of the things that we had read yesterday and how the story sounded eerily familiar to we were talking about Kali when she sprung forward from Durga's head to save the world, right? And damn, hold on. Let me make a note. How she had, sprung forward from Durga's head to save the world. And I said it reminded me of Athena springing forward from Zeus's head, right? Well, oh fuck. I lost my train of thought. Damn. Where is that? Is the body part? Oh. And in addition to Athena springing forward from the skull of Zeus, I was saying that that wasn't the only god that he gave birth to. That, what did it say? It said that where, I was just looking at it. It said that fucking Dionysus, that Zeus gave birth to Dionysus from his thigh. Remember that? That Dionysus was born from Zeus's thigh. And I was like, damn, we might have to figure out if there's any hidden symbolism in the thigh or the thigh bone, right? Remember me saying that yesterday? Like, why so specific? Why was Dionysus born from Zeus's thigh? Guess what? The thigh is right here as a body part. I'm gonna read it because it's very short. The Latin name of the thigh bone is femur, which means that which engenders. Several myths suggest that the thigh was once thought to serve as an auxiliary to the womb. Oh, Lord have mercy. The heavenly father Zeus gave birth to his son Dionysus from his thigh. In Islamic tradition, the divine Fatima gave birth to her sons from her thigh and so preserved her virginity forever. Did y'all know that? I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a part of their belief. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that? About Islam? It says in Islamic tradition, the divine Fatima gave birth to her sons from her thigh as to preserve her virginity forever. That's the first time I've ever heard that. Child, The Bible shows that the thigh served as a euphemism for the testicles, which were used to bind promises and oaths by masculinity worshiping Semites. Arab men still seal oaths by touching one another's testicles. What? I didn't know none of this. Y'all, Arab men still seal oaths by touching each other's testicles. Such a magical testament testament she has in quotes, invokes future generations, the sons still in the testicles. What? The sons still in the testicles to hold a man to his promise through generations. Hence the Latin testis or testes, right? The Latin testis, testis, meant a little witness. That's why she put in parentheses testament. Testes. Promises that live on through your progeny. Oaths. While you cupping another dude testicles so you can make the oath on his sons, child. And the literal word means a little witness. The thigh was substituted in the story that Abraham's servant swore by putting his hands under the thigh of his master. The word was substituted. When Abraham's servant swore by putting his hand, quote, under the thigh of his master, meaning he made an oath on the Negro testicles, on his testes. This is according to Genesis 24:9. Once the euphemistic thigh could be accepted as a possible repository of future life, it became credible that male gods might achieve the maternal miracle of birth by using their fruitful thighs. Did y'all hear what I just said? Once the euphemistic thigh could be accepted as a possible repository of future life, it became credible that male gods might achieve the maternal miracle of birth by using their fruitful thighs, child. Listen, this book stay blowing my mind. Yeah, because Phoenix Rising said, does this signify the Old and the New Testament? Yeah, because the Old Testament is what? The Old Testament is the big witness, the big guy, right? He the big witness, the Old Testament, and the little witness, Jesus, his son. Y'all, this book stay having me in a way, okay? In a way. You know what? I'm gonna read one more. I promise. This is the last one. It's relevant, given what we have been conspiring to do since March 20th. The voice. Old Eastern traditions made the female voice an important symbol of creation. Old Eastern traditions made the female voice an important symbol of creation, the source of the original creative word, which the Greeks and after them, the Christians termed the divine logos, arising presumably from the fact that every child learns speech from its mother as a rule, thus creating the world in the mind. The goddess of the voice first created everything in the universe by speaking its name in her primordial language, which Vedic sages naturally identified as Sanskrit. To them, she was Vak, literally the sound of the voice. They likened her to the wind, blowing from heaven and bringing the essence of soul to all things. Vak created the gods by speaking their names. She created the gods by speaking their names, and she also revealed the holy mantras whereby the gods could be controlled. Vak was the first, the queen, the greatest of all deities. Early Hebrew mythology had a copy of Vak and the female deity Bath Kol, the daughter of the voice. In biblical times, she was known as the divine the divine afflatus, source, the divine afflatus, source of the prophets, inspiration, source of the prophets, inspiration, a personified voice of God, mysteriously female. Sometimes she was called the last echo of the voice, meaning that there was not much left to be heard of the creative logos. The Greek goddess Echo was a similar conception, though reduced to a mere water nymph in the classical Narcissus story. In Gnostic literature, the female logos said, quote, I am the mother of the voice, speaking in many ways, completing the all. It is in me that knowledge dwells, the knowledge of things everlasting. It is I who speak within every creature. I am the womb that gives shape to the all by giving birth to the light that shines in splendor. I am the eon to come. Ooh, I am the eon to come. I am the fulfillment of the all. That is Merothia, the glory of the mother. I cast a sound of the voice into the ears of those who know me. Y'all, y'all, y'all hear what I just said? I might have to start reading that. I might have to start adding that. I might have to start adding that to our casting down of Rome, child. That's hard. I am the mother of the voice, speaking in many ways, completing the all. It is in me that knowledge dwells, the knowledge of things everlasting. It is I who speak within every creature. I am the womb that gives shape to the all by giving birth to the light that shines in splendor. I am the eon to come. I am the fulfillment of the all. That is Merothia, the glory of the mother. I cast the sound of the voice into the ears of those who know me. Yo, oh, that is why we speak in this conspiracy. That is the essence of why we are speaking this conspiracy. Now you know. Now you know. All right. So, family, hopefully you were fed by this live today. You feel me? Hopefully it addressed something that functioned as an out loud confirmation by the mother herself. You feel me? So again, email me if you need a divination, if you need to receive a 5 elements consultation, if you have any questions, if you want to be added to the list for the temple study group. We are having a temple study this Saturday. I'll have to let y'all know tomorrow what time that's going to be. What else? You can contribute in a variety of ways. You go to the Etsy store, which is daughterofthefates.etsy.com, or go to etsy.com and type Daughter of the Fates in the search engine. You can get a divination. You can get a reading. You can donate, contribute. What else? Oh, and you can become a paid member of the Daughter of the Fates YouTube channel. Okay, my name is Cassandra Faye Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. And I want to close by saying, Mommy and I are one. Mommy and I are one. Mommy and I are one. See you tomorrow at 11:11 Universal Time. Universal Time, 11:11 p.m. Universal Time. Oh, and the last thing is if you want to get a copy of the conspiracy and the directions that we will be doing every day until the 25th of August, then email me as well and put conspiracy in the subject header, and I will send you those details, so that you can participate. Because at 11:11 Universal Time, every day we will be together out loud speaking the conspiracy to right all wrongs. Okay? So that's it. Oh, the email. EVOEMETEMP. EVOEMETEMP. That's Evolutionary Emergent Temple. EVO, the first 3 letters. EVOEMETEMP at gmail.com. And so that email you can use to email me to make inquiries about readings, divinations, and consultations. ask questions, get on the book club list, whatever. But you can also use that email to donate at Zelle. So EVOEMETEMP at gmail.com. You can use to make a donation through Zelle. You can use that same email address to make a donation through PayPal. And Daughter of the Fates, $ Daughter of the Fates for Cash App, and Cassandra, CASSANDRA -Floyd, FLOYD, to make a donation via Venmo. That's it. Hope you were served today. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 11:11 Universal, 11:11 p.m. Universal time. All right, peace. Boy, cut it out, turkey.